Hey there. I'm so glad you clicked that play button. Thank you so much for joining me today. This week we're focusing on chapter 6, Cultivating Peace Within the Family. Now, I know that there are 100 different kinds of families out there, right? There are different parenting situations, there are different parenting seasons, and all kinds of things. And so what I have done in this chapter is kind of give you some general guidelines, because your experience is your experience, right? And I can't necessarily tell you how to fix everything because I don't know your experience. But the point I really want you to get from this chapter is this: we can trust God with our kids, and we can ask Him to guide us in becoming the mamas that our kids need. Those two statements are the foundation of this chapter, because I believe that when I ran my own world of parenting, when I was trying to be the parent I thought I was supposed to be, when I was trying to be in control, which we all know is an illusion, but I really wanted it anyway, when I was at the place where it was all about what I wanted, that's when the chaos in my parenting was the worst. And that's when my behavior towards my children was the worst. What I have learned is that when we surrender to God, when we surrender to His pattern of parenting each of our individual children, He not only gives us the peace, but He gives us the wisdom, the strength, and the perseverance to live through and thrive in any experience we might come across in our parenting and our motherhood journeys. That's a big statement, and I know it. But here's what I've learned, really. And I know some of you who listen to this, you have adult children. And I know you may be wondering, well, you don't even know what I'm dealing with as far as adult kids. And you're right, I don't. I do know what I have from my season of parenting up to my daughter's a freshman in college, and I have that experience. But this methodology, this thought process has held true every season. God knows how to parent my kids better than I do, so I need to ask Him how to parent them. And two, He's got a way through whatever it is we're facing. No matter what it is, He has got a way through it. And so that's what I want to encourage you with today. Whether you are dealing with adult children or your first brand new newborn baby, I want you to recognize that God has a way for you to be the parent He created you to be. And He has a way to build the family into what He has created it to be. It's our expectations that are causing a lot of the chaos. I know in today's world that parenting is complicated, way more complicated than it was when I first started my parenting journey, way more complicated than it was for my mom to parent me, and way more complicated probably than her mom to parent her. But there were always complications. It was never an easy process. Just because life might have been simpler doesn't mean there weren't still problems, right? So there is a way to deal with this. And I want you to recognize and hear me in this. The way of parenting is unique to each one of us as moms and is unique to each one of our children. And it's important to pay attention to that. That's why the 4 key principles of relationships are so important all throughout this book. That if we can learn to submit, especially in our parenting, to God's will for our kids, not what we want, but for what God has in mind when He designed them. If we could submit and ask God to show us how to be the mama that He created us to be for the kids He gave us, we can cultivate peace within this relationship, no matter how much heartache is in there. In this chapter, I share with you the beginning of my parenting journey was anything but joyful or pleasant or amazing or wonderful. It was heartache and pain and struggle. My daughter and I didn't really bond until, she must have been 8. And even then when we bonded, it was rocky for several years. And I think you probably laughed out loud at me, or you will when you get into this chapter and discover that at the worst part of our relationship, God called us in to do some homeschooling. So imagine that, when you're having the worst struggle with your kid, and God says, you know what, it's time to bring her home and homeschool her. It's tough, right? So when we talk about submitting to God's plan for your children, it's about submitting to God's plan for you as your role as their mama. And there is a purpose in it all. There really is. Had we not gone through that season of struggle and overwhelm and frustration and anger in our relationship, I don't think that our relationship would be as sweet as it is today. It's not perfect, and there is no such thing as perfect parenting. So can we please break up with that word? But it is beautiful. And I think there's a word out there right now that's the term brutiful, right? It's a combination of brutal and beautiful, right? And so it is brutiful. It is a brutiful relationship because there's going to be pain and struggle because she's trying to figure out who she is without me. And that's hard. But at the same time, I feel often like I know what's best. And so I need to tell her. But when we have God in the middle, if it's Taylor and I focusing on the relationship, or so focusing on the issues, then we know that God can speak into that, right? And that's how God leads us in our parenting. That's how God ushers in peace when we submit to him. The second part is to respect that our children are individuals in their own rights. They were given to us. They're a gift. I know they don't feel like it all the time, but they are truly a gift. And it's more a gift for us to help us become closer to God, because how much more are you on your knees as a parent than you ever were before, right? There have been more times when I have been on my knees going, Lord, I have no idea how to parent this child. And in that, it's a gift to me, because now I'm drawing closer to Jesus and developing my relationship with him. And it is a gift for me. This is what God wants us to think about when you think about our children, and respecting who they are. He has a plan and purpose for their life as clear as he has one for you. Our job in parenting is to help them find that, is to help them hear God's voice, is to help them trust him. That's how we learn to respect our children. The third thing is forgiveness, right? There's going to be pain and problems within our parenting. There's going to be times that we need to ask for forgiveness from our children, and that we need to teach them how themselves to own the mistakes that they made and seek forgiveness when they need it too. And so this is an important thing to teach our children. And the third thing is our intimacy. Y'all, I know we are busy. I know we are busy in our culture. We are busy with our kids. And the pervading feeling right now is that your kids better get involved in activities right off the bat really, really early, or they're going to miss out completely. Man, is anybody done with that yet? I'm a little overwhelmed. I hope you are too, because it really impedes in the intimacy we can develop with our kids sometimes. And I'm not saying all activities are horrible. Please do not hear that, because there's a lot of great things that our children should be involved in, because it's part of God's plan for them. But developing intimacy is about spending time with our kids, honoring who they are, listening to them. And if we're so busy running all over the place that we can't do that, there's something that maybe needs to be addressed. I don't know what that looks like, but I know that in my own parenting journey, we got really involved in a lot of stuff right off the bat, because that's what you were supposed to do. And next thing I know, I'm trying to please everybody else out there, the teacher at the school and the other volunteers. And then it was the PTA, and then it was the homeschooling people. And I was trying to make sure everybody else was happy, and I wasn't really paying attention to my kids. And so this is the way we have to think about this. That's why we need God to help us recognize how to be the mom he's created us to be, not the mom the culture tells us we're supposed to be. And therein is some big truth, right? But all of that is part of the process of developing, cultivating peace in our families. Y'all, families are rocked with all kinds of mess, aren't they? Take 1 and 2 sinful individuals and make them one flesh in marriage, and you already got some conflict going on. Now you add 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. I don't even know how many kids you got. And there's potential for a lot of chaos, right? It can be beautiful chaos, though, when we are learning to trust God with what it means to be our family. Y'all, your family and my family do not have to look the same in order for both to be good. Can I get an amen from you on that? Even if you're just listening to the other side of the screen, we were each designed to be a part of a unique family, both beautiful to God, both fulfilling a purpose to God, both unique according to God's creativity for us. So can we take a look at our family and our parenting in a whole new way, and just kind of give it an opportunity to really focus on what is beautiful and unique within our families and celebrate and champion that? The same 3 things go along with that in terms of the 4 key principles of relationship building, of submission and respect and forgiveness and intimacy. Those 4 things are key to helping us build the family that God designed when he brought us together. So no matter what your family is based on, whether it's step, blended, single, adoptive, whatever that might look like, God has a purpose for your family. If we seek him, submit to him and what that looks like, we will learn where that needs to be, and there will be peace in it. So this week as you read through this chapter, I hope you find good nuggets to guide you on your parenting journey. If you have any questions, as always, I would love to speak into your situations. If I don't have an answer, I will find one for you. But remember, this is a class. You're meant to be able to ask questions. That's why I sent an email to you. That's why you only get this video and have this discussion with me. So please let me know if I can help you with anything, either in this chapter or previous chapters. Other than that, I hope that you get through the chapter this week, and that you participate in our Feedback Friday discussion on Friday, and that you have a blessed week with your kids. Thanks.